This video is for the 91% of you that are watching right now. But just because you're part of this percentage, and that's me included, doesn't mean you're definitely making a bad choice. But I do know for a fact that the majority of you are. I'm talking for the ones of you who work for a company, business, legal entity, anything like that. You'll typically work the hours of 9 till 5, but not always. You might work shift work, you might work shorter days, or maybe longer days. But these are the sorts of people that I'm talking directly to. So if you fall within this bracket, then listen up. You really need to hear this. In this video, I'm going to highlight why 91% of you are going to miss out on earning more money this year. And there's actually more money at stake than you might think. I'm then going to round up with my thoughts on the pitfalls that you need to avoid, and then give you a way of thinking about your working life to give you the components and mindset to create your own strategy on how to maximise your own situation. I will even share my personal biggest failure and my biggest regret and what I've learned from it. So, what is the one fact that underpins this whole video? The average person gets a 3% pay rise each year, and that's 8% less compared to people who decide to move jobs at 11%. You might not fully understand the impact of that statement, so let me go through some numbers with you. Let's start with a conservative scenario first. Let's say you have two people who are both earning £35,000. Andrew doesn't want to move jobs for a lot of reasons, and we'll talk about those sort of reasons shortly, and gets a 3% pay rise. A nice pat on the back for his loyalty. Well done, Andrew. His new salary is £36,050. But then we have Brenda, who is making some serious moves, and she clutches a new job, bagging her the 11% pay rise, taking her salary to £38,850, which is £2,800 more per year. It's quite a bit of money, but it's not mind-blowing, right? But what if I told you that Brenda has actually just bagged herself £46,000 more than Andrew in just one single job move? Don't believe me? Well, it's just not investments which compound. Your career choices do too. If you look at the impact of this decision over a 20-year period, this is what it looks like. Let's assume both Andrew and Brenda now stick to their respective jobs for the next 20 years and enjoy the corporate pat on the back of getting their 3% pay rise each and every year. Their salaries after 20 years will look something like the following. Andrew would be on £65,638 and Brenda would be on £70,736. So in that 20 years, because of a 3% increase each year, Brenda would roughly have earned £46,000 more than Andrew during this pay time, just from this one move. But let's look at a more bullish scenario. Charlie isn't the sort to celebrate 10 years service at a single company. And let's say after every 4 years he pieces out and trades a 3% pay rise for 11% for moving to a new company. This means over his 20-year period he's going to move jobs another 4 times. So what if I told you by the end of it all, he's actually left on a salary of £96,727, a whole £26,000 more than Brenda and £30,000 more than Andrew. Over that 20-year period, it means that Charlie's made an extra £260,000 more than Brenda. What a baller. You need to ask why though. Why is it the company that you work at is willing to pay you less based on your loyalty? And that's where the problem lies. The word loyalty. It's a really loaded word. You most likely have been taught from a very young age that you should be loyal to those around you. After all, wouldn't you want others to be loyal to you? Of course. But the horrible truth is that capitalism provides no room for loyalty. Just like your customers are loyal to you until they're offered something better. So in order for you to win the game of capitalism, you need to play by the rules of capitalism. You want to be loyal until you find something better. But you might be asking, but Nick, I like my company, I like my colleagues, I like my boss, it's not far from where I live. Look, I'm absolutely pumped for you, as you're really not guaranteed these by moving to another job. But if you're going to prioritise these aspects over money, then you're not going to get the money with it. All the evidence is there. Sticking with the same company will leave you out of pocket over time, and it'll leave you a lot more out of pocket than you might think, especially over the long term. You cannot have it all, so you're going to have to prioritise one over the other. On top of this, changing jobs is stressful. New systems, new people, new ways of working, gambling on how nice or horrible your next line manager is going to be. It's really not for the faint-hearted. So going back to the original question, why is it that if you stick at a company, they pay you less? Well, this is primarily because your salary is anchored to a certain price. It's a bit like if you bought something at a shop for £10 and all of a sudden it costs £12. You thought you're being ripped off, you're not getting anything different for your money. But then if you saw a different product for £12, it probably doesn't take that much to convince you to buy it. The same goes to the company you work at. If you work at a company for £35,000 a year and out of the blue you suddenly want £42,000 a year, it's a very tough pill for your business to swallow. Why all of a sudden do they want to pay much more for the very same person? But then again, if they're recruiting for the same role that you're doing, they haven't got an anchor point to anchor this person's salary to, so they're much more likely to pay the new person £42,000, even if they're not as good as you. I know it's sad, but it's really true. I've seen it before and I've been on the good side of it and the bad side of it. On top of this, there are internal restraints at companies. Anything which goes over a certain percentage will get flagged in the sign-off process. You might be worth 20% more to your boss, but the managing director of the company won't see that significant increase in value the same way, as they're far more removed from you. Even if your boss thinks you're worth it, they probably aren't willing to put their own neck on the line and be as foolish to mention this big increase to their MD. But when you go to a new company, they're looking at you with a fresh set of eyes. You're new, you're exciting, you've got experiences from other companies that they might badly need within their own company. You might take this experience for granted and you'll wrongly assume that everyone knows what you know. Believe me, they don't. This is why during the recruiting process, they're very keen to find out what you've been paid by another company, as they really want to start to anchor you to a certain price. That's why all the advice says either not to give up this information or to actually inflate your salary from your previous company. But do be careful about inflating your salary too much so, as you might come across too expensive or not worth it. Ideally, just avoid giving them a price at all. Just keep them guessing. Your value has nothing to do with what another company's been paying you. You might be thinking then, do I just need to keep hopping jobs every year then? Well, not so fast. I actually have some more data for you, which actually you might find counterintuitive. Are you ready? Overall, job stayers get paid more than job movers. You might be thinking, hang on Nick, how can this be true? You've just said the average person gets 3% versus job movers getting 11%. Well, this data doesn't include promotions, as this would massively skew the data. This is where the topic gets a bit grey, but don't worry, I think I've got a fairly good solution. If you want to earn more money, after all, if you're selling yourself for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week to somebody, then in general, you're going to want to go to the highest bidder. So what should your strategy be? Before I get into the strategy, I just want to take a moment to say that if you're looking to support the channel, then the least effort thing you can do is by liking this video. And if you like investing content generally, then feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you want to support further, then I've actually created a Patreon page which you can join for as little as £2 a month. By joining, you'll get access to my private Discord server, which I'm on a lot of the time to be honest, but I'll put a link in the description below. Anyway, whatever you support, I really appreciate it. Now back to the video. For me, the strategy is to keep moving forward, and this means you're gaining all of the following three: more money, more knowledge, and more experience. Let's start with money, as it's really straightforward. Everyone wants more money, but I need to flag something that you need to be aware of. I see it all the time that people are really happy they've been getting a 2 to 3% increase each year. Remember, this is inflation. So if you're getting less than 2.5%, you're actually losing out to what money you paid in the prior year. You really need to be looking for any money paid above inflation, as that is actually a true increase. So if you paid 1% above inflation, so 3.5%, 4%, in reality you're 1% off better than the year prior. And that's actually bigger than you might think, because that 1% then compounds for the rest of your life. So do bear it in mind. So the next one is knowledge. This is often overlooked, but I think it's critical. This is knowledge that you can put on your CV that makes you stand out. Maybe it's a large customer within your industry. Maybe it's a piece of software that you know how to use. Or maybe it's a new level of certification. All of these things can go in the CV bank, which might be extremely valuable to another employer down the road. And last but not least, we have experience, which is often confused with knowledge. But let me give you an example to draw the differences between knowledge and experience. If you've got something on your CV and they can see you've only got 4 weeks of experience within that new field of knowledge, then it may as well not be on your CV at all. The lack of experience basically nullifies any of the new knowledge. Increasingly, employers are asking for X amount of experience of new knowledge, so typically they might say at least 5 years of experience managing people. So 4 weeks isn't going to cut it. So now I've gone over these 3 areas, let me highlight the dangers of focusing just on one of these. Let's start with money. I personally refer to this trap as crabbing, as you're constantly moving sideways, but some people might refer to this as job hopping. This is people who stay in jobs for 1 to 2 years and then they move for the very same sort of job, as after all, it's easy to get the same sort of job as you have all the relevant skills. You might think it's a no-brainer, you're getting paid more for exactly the same job. You might think you're smart, but you're actually not. The problem with doing this is you can only move so far. You might do this 4 or 5 times, getting a little bit of money each time, but at some point you'll truly cap out the most that somebody will be willing to pay you for that job in particular. You'll have spent 8 years gaining money, but you won't have gained any new knowledge or experience. Congratulations, you've pretty much capped your whole salary for the rest of your working life. Or let's say you've gone all in on knowledge. All the opportunities you've been getting, you're on it. You've worked in so many different departments that you know the business inside out. You're basically on secondment of every single business unit within your business. The problem you have here is that you haven't gained a lot of experience in any of the areas that you've been into, and you're certainly not being paid any more for it. The last is going all in experience. We all work with at least one of these people. They're pretty much part of the furniture of the businesses that we work for. They're the sort of person that gets a tray of sandwiches when it comes around to their 10-year anniversary in their workplace. What a reward for spending 20% of your life at the same company. If that's me, shoot me. Right, so you know what to look out for. So what's the plan? Let's start with the best plan, which is going to make you the most money. You're going to have to prioritise getting promoted. There's nothing which is going to get you money, knowledge and experience like getting promoted. Prioritise getting promoted above anything else. But let's be real though, it's not really possible to get promoted all the time. So we're going to have some form of backup plan. The first thing we need to avoid is being in the same role for too long. Once you hit the 2-year mark, then you really need to start looking for a change. I'm not saying you need to move at 2 years, but I would say that you urgently need to be looking around for something else. If nothing changes, then you really need to be out of there before you hit 3 years. You will have learned everything valuable within the first 2 years. If anyone tells you that you still need more experience after 2 years, then run for the hills. Companies and managers love to say that you need more experience, but this is because they only want to keep you there because that's where you're most valuable to the company. But it's not where you're going to get the most value for your time. This doesn't mean you need to move roles though, but at the very least you need some sort of new knowledge. Maybe it's a new larger customer, a training course to learn a new system, or being able to code something different. It will vary from job to job, but you do need some change. If new knowledge isn't possible in the form of new responsibilities or a job move internally, then you're only going to have one option in my eyes. You need to take the bull by the horns and you need to move businesses. Personally, I'd advise that you get a role which gives you relevant knowledge to your area of expertise and not go for a same job that just pays more. This helps you avoid crabbing. You might not get more money now, but you'll definitely get more money in the future because you're adding to your value. That new piece of knowledge could be a golden nugget in the next 4 years. Maybe there's a company out there that is desperate for someone who has got the skills you've just gained from this new job. Maybe it's knowledge around marketing, or maybe a certain customer relationship management system. I don't know, it'll really vary to your situation. As always, I'm going to be as transparent as possible and give you insight on my career so far and my learnings that I've taken. I'm not all of a sudden going to share my LinkedIn page, but what I will tell you is that I've been working for roughly 9 years now, and I've had 6 roles across 2 companies, and I've had roughly about 3 promotions in total. But my one regret is that I stayed in a single role for nearly 4 years. And what is important to clarify here is that I didn't learn anything in the final 2 years. I stupidly allowed myself to be strung along by my previous company, saying that there was a promotion just around the corner. And I've got to say, I consider that final year a complete waste of my time. I would have been far better off if I'd been in a different role or a different company rather than being there for another year. The funny thing is though, at the end of my time at this company, I had just got promoted, but basically they just redressed up my old job as a new job with a little bit more money, and I saw right through it that I wasn't gaining any new experience or any new knowledge, so I decided to move. Anyway, that's a little bit about me, but I'd be really interested to know your own experiences. Do you feel like you've made some bad career move choices along the way? Or have you now got a different view of your situation based on this video? I'd actually be really interested to know. Maybe you've been in the job that you're currently in for over 3 years. Let me know in the comments below. That's all for this video. See you in the next one.